Hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Everybody ready? You're all set? Anybody with us except Wendy? Nope. Okay. All right. Call the meeting to order. Ask if you join us at the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to our November Board of Supervisors meeting. Just a few general announcements before we get started. If anybody wants to utilize them, there are mask and sanitizing solution available where you came in the door at the table. Also, you would find agendas and a few other documents there. This meeting is being recorded, will be accessible through the township's website. The agenda for the meeting was posted on the township website, our Facebook page, and also on the meeting room door. There will be two opportunities for public comment, either virtual or in person. After being recognized by the chair, we'd ask you step up to the podium and state your name and address before addressing the board. Written minutes will also be available on the website once they're approved by the board. Township manager is monitoring the virtual meeting. We would remind you when speaking, if you could speak right into the microphone and fairly forcefully, so that can be heard by anybody that is with us virtually. And with that, we'll do self-introduction of the supervisors.
Dave Rose.
Jeff Rogers.
Art Rutledge.
Bob Brown.
Jeff Ronald.
And to my left is Todd Ziegler, the township manager, virtually our recording secretary, Wendy. And we have excused our solicitor, Tim Bupp, from the meeting this evening. And with that, we will go back to our agenda. I do want to announce that immediately preceding this meeting, we did hold an executive session. That was basically to discuss some personnel matters, primarily of potential increases and evaluations for the year end for the employees. Next item would be approval of the minutes from our October meeting. I think, Jeff, you might have had a comment on the minutes.
Yeah,
From the meeting.
yeah, that you missed that, should be, I was absent, I wasn't present.
Oh, we have you listed separately. It's just present instead of absent. Gotcha.
Any other questions on the minutes, or with that correction, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve with the correction stated.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes with the one correction. Any questions before we vote? And I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The minutes are approved as corrected. We'll move to the treasurer's report. Any questions on the report? Anything, Todd, you want to point out?
Just point of clarification, that motion was for both sets of minutes, the budget and the
Oh,
regular?
I'm sorry, I did not bring the other one up.
The regular.
They were stuck together. So let's, we also have minutes from the budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the budget meeting. If there are no questions, we shall vote.
Aye.
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 Thanks for the reminder. I missed that,
Sure.
Todd. They were
Yep.
stuck together. Okay, so now we have the treasurer's report. Questions from anybody on the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. I would note that interest was still pretty nice at about $3,000+ So
Just a question, Todd, how much of our current balance is spoken for the project on the building?
I'm trying to think here from when we did the budget. Should be somewhere, there's still about 1.9 million to be paid out.
Okay, so we're sitting at about three.
Right around
6,
three.
give or take. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
any other questions before we vote? We do have a motion and a second. We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The treasurer's report has been accepted. At this point, we would pause to see if there are any comments the public would like to make. Going up to the microphone.
Hello, my name is Richard Weiss. I'm a citizen of this township. And I just have three basic questions.
Can you tell us where you live?
Heritage Farm Drive,
Okay.
okay. And my main question is, how do you change the zoning law in this township? And
There's two ways really it can be done is a resident can submit and apply for what they call a curative amendment. There's an application fee for that, and you have to propose what that language and that change will be. The other option is if there's an amendment proposed and the board supports it, the board could also initiate that. So they're the two basic ways.
Okay. And then my second question is, why is this township extremely restrictive when it comes to owning chickens in the residential area compared to others in the median area?
Owning chickens?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I would caution that public comment doesn't necessarily mean the board will answer. It's kind of your chance to express your
Okay.
concern. But I would say that probably for everybody that says I'd like to have chickens, there are 10 that say I don't want any of my neighbors to have chickens anywhere around me.
So
And they are conveyors of disease. They do attract rodents, mice, rats. So there are, if you're not in a farm or an area where you have a lot of space, it can impact your neighbors.
And I mean, I guess you guys don't honestly have to answer this question, but I would like to just have a private conversation with maybe one of you five after this meeting. Because basically what's going on is I've had chickens in my house for 2 years, right? No problems. Everyone in the neighborhood loves these birds. Me, my kids, everyone, all the neighbors. Todd decides to do an inspection on this intersection, right? And now I'm told I have to get rid of these birds that I've had for 2 years. No one even complained about the birds, right? I have to get rid of them because I only own 2 acres of property instead of 3. And I can't buy another acre because it's illegal to subdivide in my area. So now my choices are pay $750 to you guys to appeal it, or I can just say, you know what, you guys are right, and I will never have the chance to appeal it ever again. I'm 37 years old. I fought in Iraq for 27 months for my freedom, right? And being told I can have 6 chickens on 2 acres of property is just ridiculous to me.
Well, you're certainly entitled to that opinion, but to speak for Todd, it is the township rule, it is a township regulation. Typically, we find out because somebody complains, but again, if we notice it, we have to address it because it's not fair to all the other people that have, and several people have gotten rid of chickens that they had because of that. So we can't condone it in one space, and tell somebody else you're not able to do it. So we need to be consistent, and that's what Todd's doing, and he noticed it, so he has to take action.
It's the only place in this whole township that's zoned residential. Like, I just find it amazing. I own 2 acres of property, and I've talked to several citizens around my neighborhood. They don't care about the chickens, and they honestly feel we don't even own our own property. You guys do, and we just rent from you because we can't do anything. So
Well,
now I'm dumbfounded by this.
all right, well, if you'd like to have a private conversation with me or with Todd, we can certainly do that, because we can't solve it sitting here tonight.
Okay.
Right. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else who would like to address the board at this time? Okay, we will move on. We have a couple of ordinance and resolutions to look at. Resolution number 2022-12 is actually a resolution we are required to implement by the state. I'll let Todd kind of give a little bit of details.
Yeah, in as quick of a summary as I can give it, the state legislature recently passed some legislation and we're mandated to enact it. But what it does is it requires, if, for an example, if one of you were to buy a property mid-year, mid-tax season, and you don't receive that bill in a timely fashion, the tax collector is required to waive any of your penalties and late fees. Is the easiest way to sum it up. And what this ordinance does, even though the state is mandating every municipality to do this, this ordinance is mandating that the tax collector grant those waivers for late fees and penalties and
And this is
interest and
based
so forth.
on newly implemented Pennsylvania state law.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2022-12.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2022-12. Basically, it's taxpayers' time to get used to what goes on in the area, and new residents at least have some time to catch up if they need it. Any questions before we vote? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. Resolution 2022-12 is approved. And we have a second resolution that kind of addresses the sites land sanitary sewer repayment policy.
Yeah, what this does is follows up, and this came out of our budget meeting. Sites and Sewer District Phase Number 1 was installed and put into service in 2012. Phase 2 was installed and put in service, I think it was right around 2000. Let's see here, 15. Anyway, both of those systems were set up to the township took the loan out. They're repaying it. We're repaying it over a 15-year term. Those customers are repaying the township over the course of a 30-year term, just because of the cost of the quarterly sewer charges. And that's on top of what they'll already be billed from Glen Rock Sewer Authority for conveyance and treatment of the wastewater. So anyway, what this amendment does is it allows those quarterly payments to continue with all the current customers. But what this does is at any point in time that the property is sold and transfers to a new owner, they have to pay off the balance of that principal. And the average is somewhere around 13,500 to 14,000.
The average of what's left, the average.
That's remaining.
Okay.
Yeah, it started at around 19,000
All right.
per connection.
Questions?
So
from the
it's
board?
kind of like if you have a loan or whatever, you know, when you go to sell it, it's got to be settled at that time.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-13.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2022-13, which essentially requires that the sites land sewer loan be remaining balance be paid off if the property is sold. Any further questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
5 votes to the affirmative. Resolution 2022-13 is approved. We move on to subdivision and land development. We have several issues to look at. The first would be I guess a modification first, then a subdivision plan for the Christopher and Jared Zahor. Did I pronounce that
Yeah, I
correctly?
think pretty good.
I had a little tutoring in the before. Okay. And Todd, do you want to introduce it, or do they want to? say
Yeah,
anything
no,
to the
that's
board?
fine, unless they want to speak, but this is a pretty straightforward. Everybody calls it something a little different, a lot merger, a reverse subdivision, or a subdivision merging lots. Bottom line is they have 2 lots here, lot 1, lot 2, and they also own this parcel here. What this plan does is merges lot 1 and lot 2, and it'll become one new lot. And just for background, it's irrelevant to the plan approval, but their intent is to remove this dwelling from the property and build a new dwelling on the merged lots. The plan was reviewed and recommended for approval by staff, and that recommendation was to the Township Planning Commission. Township Planning Commission met about 2 weeks ago. And they recommended unanimously that the board consider approving the plan. But there's also some modification requests. Again, those are recommended for approval by staff as well as the Planning Commission. The good news is this is a rare plan in the sense that there are no outstanding comments on the CS Davidson letter.
Well,
Everything's addressed.
I'm not sure that's ever happened.
No,
That is a
this,
first.
in all fairness, this is a pretty straightforward, easy plan. Where was it going with this?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Modification.
The modifications are simply road widening, section 505.3B. Again, if you're familiar with Forest Lakes, there's no curbing, there's no sidewalks. Those roads were actually there quite a few years before the township even adopted them. So our recommendation is it just would not make any sense to widen the road. If we did, it would simply be curbside parking for the Zahors. So the recommendation by staff and planning commission is that you approve that modification request and also that you approve the plan.
Subdivision plan.
Yeah, yep. I remember what I was going to talk about. There is one comment on the CS Davidson comment letter,
Yeah.
but that cannot be addressed until after the plan's approved and recorded. That is, excuse me, they're required to have a new deed written and recorded for the creation of that new lot.
Okay.
Does that need to be in our motion?
No.
Can we,
Can I do these together?
You can.
yeah,
In that case, I'd like to make a motion to approve the modification request. That was one, correct?
Yes.
To approve the modification request and then the reverse subdivision plan. For the Zahors.
I stand corrected. I'm not used to seeing these, but Josh put them on, I guess, on separate. We're custom, as you see, we can put up to 5. I see Josh put one on each separate form. So it's sidewalks, road widening, and the environmental impact assessment.
okay.
Well,
And again, we already
that
talked
case-
about the sidewalks. The CEA, again, it's already an existing lot, it's already in lawn and so forth. So my apologies. It's
In that
three.
case, I'll amend my motion.
Thank you.
To approve the modification requests, all 3 of them. And also approve the reverse subdivision plan for the Zahors.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the subdivision and land development plan as presented. Are there any questions before we vote? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. 5 votes to the affirmative. So you have approved modifications on the subdivision plan.
Okay.
Good.
The next step will be probably as early as tomorrow or Friday. The township will take care of recording the plan at the recorder of deeds office. And once we get that recording information, we can let you know what book and page it's in. And eventually we'll get a copy back and we can give you a copy as well. So.
And then what time do we reach out and have the new deed written?
As soon as it's recorded. As soon as you have that recording information, because they'll need to reference that in the new deed. So, yep. Yep, sure.
You're good. Any more questions from either of you? Okay, thank you.
All right.
We'll move on to the, I guess we just have several plan reapprovals here.
Yeah, and I would recommend to the board, if you want to limit your number of motions. Item C, which is the Spellman property. The only outstanding condition that's required for that plan is bonding. So I would recommend to the board that you approve that extension until December 7th, which is our next meeting. The other 3, which is item B, D, and E, which is the shops at Shrewsbury, as well as 2 farms, which is Royal Farms. All 3 of those So maybe you want to do Royal Farms separately.
All right.
But the two Royal Farms you could do together, since Dave is
I'm
an
abstaining.
employee. Yeah,
Right.
he'll probably abstain, so. So I would recommend first it's item B, the shops at Shrewsbury, that you reapprove that for 90 days. And again, they're waiting on responses from outside agencies. It's outside of their
How
control.
long for Spellman?
Spellman 30 days, because the only item they need is bonding.
We're gonna have to do these separately.
Yeah.
So we can do B individually, C individually, and then
We'll do.
D and E, the
Royal
two
Farms
farms you
together.
can do together. Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to reapprove shops at Shrewsbury for 90 days. Which will come up on our February
Yes.
meeting.
I'll second that.
Ooh, it's been 30. That sort of means it's already passed.
All right, we have motion that's been appropriately seconded. That we reapprove the shops at Shrewsbury plan for 90 days. Questions, we'll vote.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
5 votes to the affirmative, so we have that approval extended 90 days. Next would be the Spellman property, since they only own us bonding. Somebody may want to make a motion that we just go for 30 days on that one.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to expend the Spellman Properties LLC on Elm Drive for 30 days. Questions? We'll vote.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
5 votes to the approval, so the Spellman property is extended for 30 days.
You
And
guys
we-
are on your own for this motion.
Yep, and we have two motions that would be D and E on your agenda for two farms, which would be the plan approval and preliminary and final. And that would be for 90 days.
I'll second that.
I don't think we had a
Oh, I
motion.
thought you made a motion.
I'll make that a motion. How's that?
So I thought you were doing.
All right, so we have a motion and a second that we reapprove the two farms, the two farms.
Slightly confusing.
Yes, for 90 days. We shall vote, and I know that Dave is
Abstain.
abstaining. For those out there, Dave is employed by Royal Farms, which is who Two Farms Incorporated is actually their development part, I guess.
Aye.
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 So we have 4 votes to the affirmative and 1 abstention that would approve the reapprovals for Two Farms Inc. And I think that brings us to, that covers everything we had there, right, Todd?
Correct, yes.
So that brings us to reports. And the first report up is actually the manager's report. If there's anything Todd would like to.
Yeah,
discuss
I have
further.
nothing in addition to what you already have before you. So if anyone has any questions.
Any questions to Todd on the report? All right, we will move on to the solicitor's report. That's easy. We don't have a written report from the solicitor because there was nothing needed. We would move to the zoning officer and codes enforcement, sewage enforcement report. Again, very detailed, very thorough. Are there any questions? Mainly for Todd regarding that report. Again, it's good. It's getting a little bit smaller. We had 9 new, but 17 closed. I guess 10 continuing and 10 that are within the courts.
And the growing season's coming to a close.
Yeah. It's true. And so is the lawn mowing season.
Yeah.
Both helpful. You have the maintenance department report in front of you. Any questions to Todd on that?
Just would like to thank Bill for taking care of that pothole in front of Sussex.
Our maintenance department did.
In that case, thanks to the maintenance department.
Well, he said, no, he said he left you messages. He just talked to me about that 2 days ago.
Bill knew they'd do it if he,
Well, it's just a temporary fix anyway. It's only cold patch.
Well, I saw it was filled and I made a point to drive over it to see. how
I gave him
it
your
filled.
cell number.
I never got a message. Promise you.
No, I don't know what to tell you, other than
Constantly all day long, they never come back.
nonetheless, it's been done
yep,
for now.
it's at least temporarily so that no one loses a.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
So now I made a point to drive over it. And if
You
they'll
may
plug-
you may check the number you give them because you may have to leave them record somewhere else.
I'll double check. I'll follow up with them.
And I believe that now all the security cameras are installed at Wendy Hill.
Correct.
Good.
And
Are we
next,
installing more at,
I'm going to get just one for Miller Park and try to get that set up and make sure that it'll work there before we purchase any additional cameras.
now, we had internet from the one building at Windy Hill.
Yeah.
Where are we getting?
We're gonna have to get set, I guess it's satellite. I've never gotten it from up yonder. You have, I guess. Who do you use?
We actually use cell with T-Mobile.
Okay.
They've got one of those little router box things.
Do you know who you use, Joe?
I'm using AT&T
Okay.
phone.
Okay.
Similar setup, I guess, to my T-Mobile one.
I'll just have we have an extra phone. And it's in the chip for that phone is in a
Like a hotspot.
yeah, it's like a hotspot.
Router.
That's
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the router.
what I used.
Are we looking to put them anywhere else, like Hametown or?
I mean, we haven't talked beyond Windy Hill or Miller at this
Okay.
point.
You'll have some at Hamtown because they'll be around the building.
Yeah, not down exactly at the park, but more than likely we will, once we have Wi-Fi available down there.
Well, now satellite runs $100 a month. Because my daughter's getting it now.
I looked at it, was, at least the ones I looked at were less, but
Oh, maybe it's the
know.
amount of data or
Yeah.
something. Because she's getting one because she's out on Bowser and has no reception. The amount of anything, it's spotty at best, so. And I know it's supposed to cost her $100 a month.
yeah, no, I looked at, is it HughesNet? There's one,
They're a popular one.
Yeah.
Slow though.
Yeah.
All right.
yes, I haven't explored it
Okay,
real far yet, but that's what the plan is.
sorry, I interrupted. Somebody was saying about they were all installed at Windy Hill. Not cut off.
No problem. No, they were good questions. Any other questions on the maintenance department monthly report? Any questions on the engineers report? And I see Stan is here. I don't know if he has anything he wants to share with us or all is good.
We have a meeting coming up in November. In a couple of weeks, so.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Do you have the date? When is that?
That will be November 17th.
Is that still at 7?
Yes,
And that's
at
over,
Shrewsbury Borough.
right, Shrewsbury, okay.
And is that a joint meeting with all the localities that?
It's the
Emergency
rep from
management
each of the
services.
other four municipalities, 4 boroughs and Stan.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Okay,
And thank you, Stan.
and you have a report from the Planning Commission and Zoning Hearing Board. Hearing no questions there, we would move to supervise, actually to committees, and I don't believe we had any committee meetings or need for any, so there are no reports from committees unless Todd knows something I don't.
No, I do not.
And I'll back up.
Meetings.
I'll back up because I think you were going to just give us a quick update on the comp plan.
Yeah, I just let you know that the monthly meeting that we have, the last meeting, we focused on current land uses, and we're going to be start talking about future land use in the comp plan. So it's moving along,
Okay.
moving along well. So, and part of we're going to have a conversation probably next meeting because the 50,000 of the project we received, if you recall, from the county open space grant program, and that has to be used for open space, recreation, farmland preservation, components of the comprehensive plan. So we believe there's funding that's going to be available, and in order to meet that requirement, we're looking that we'll probably do a little more comprehensive study, evaluation, whatever you wish to call it, on the number of development rights that are available in the township.
Mhm.
We kind of deal with them as they come along, and keep track of them, but haven't gone out and.
I got more details, so I know how many are.
Yeah, we won't do full verifications on properties, but we'll spend a little more time because we'll have some funding available for them to do that.
Okay.
So we'll get a much better feel.
No-
And the
no,
reason
how-
that's-
How much more development could happen?
Right, and that's one key component is knowing how many development rates we have out there to see if we have enough receiving district to take a good portion of those.
Okay.
Now, is that for the committee or is that township?
For,
The funding we'd be seeking.
it would be through the comp plan update.
So they would do that in
As
other,
part of, yeah, that wouldn't be any additional cost or anything.
they would do that to other municipalities as well as the township?
No, because they don't have development rights.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
We're the only ones that
Yeah.
do. Okay, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
That's good. I don't think we have anything else on committees. Supervisors' comments, you have mine, so I don't need to go through those. I would just note that the last LGAC meeting, there was some significant time spent on a presentation on homeless in York County. Last year's count was 358, of which 97 were not sheltered anywhere, so they were living outside or in a car.
Yeah.
And I did receive, they did give out some contact information. There's a group called Friends and Neighbors of Pennsylvania who actually go out into the field and deal with, talk with, homeless that could be in a tent on property or somewhere. We had that come up, and kind of the only thing we knew was to have the state police respond to it. So there is another resource that might be more helpful to people in that situation. And Todd has that contact information. So we did not know that existed when we ran up to a couple situations like that a year, and then another one about a year before that. But they did note that homeless tends to be spreading a little bit, and especially into some parks, mainly large parks, not our size parks, and into wooded areas. So we do have some information there.
What do we currently have on the books, so to speak? As far as the parks are concerned, they're closed at dusk, correct?
Correct.
So if anyone's occupying it, they're in violation. Anything else that could help us in dealing with that crisis as I'm viewing it, and it's across the country,
yeah.
but could
Yeah, I could,
seep into the township?
I'd have to look at our ordinance for parks, rules and regulations. I don't know offhand.
Okay.
I can-
Beyond parks, was there anything else from the discussion that could be an area that might affect us as a township? Normally it's in your city centers and things of that nature, but
Woodlands, and we've had a couple of recent ones that were kind of the perimeter of woodland or in a wooded, almost large wooded hedgerow or
Yeah.
something like that, I guess.
now, was the property owner the one that alerted us to this?
No, in both cases,
No,
it was somebody who happened to observe it or neighbors
Okay,
who saw it.
Yeah,
One was
it-
more out in the open than the other.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, we've had, since I've been here, we've had, behind Grace Fellowship Church up on the hill back in the
Okay,
corner up
the
in the
Kmart
woods.
building.
Mhm.
Okay,
And then more recently has been just to the south of the Walmart. Down there, that big embankment in the wooded area down there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I believe the same
Ma-
party
makes
had to
sense,
be,
though.
had to be moved out twice.
So
But
it would make sense, it's close to a populated area, so that way they could, try to find some means.
But-
of-
But in all those
Ordinance.
situations, the property owners took responsibility to have them moved for trespassing.
Good, okay.
So we have some potential help we can point out to
Mhm.
people like that now.
Yeah.
Okay, unless anybody has any questions on any of my comments from meetings or anything like that. The next item we have in the revised agenda was to discuss mission and vision statements. These have been going back and forth for some time now, and we want to try to give some direction to those working on the comp plan as to kind of what we're looking at from our mission and our vision, and also to help our contracted engineers and others. So this is something we can take a look at, decide if we feel as a group we're ready to so yeah, let's move forward with those. We would publish them in the newsletter and some other appropriate places and share them. Or if people think they need some time to review them, we could always table them to another meeting. I think Todd has them up there. And Todd, my only comment was the third sentence down. I think it sounds better to say preserve our rather than its.
I couldn't remember which word it was.
Yeah.
So that's why I put it
I
that
already
way.
worked mine up with the same thing.
Okay. Other than that, if something, if anybody wants to comment on, or if you feel comfortable with it and we want to move forward, it's up
I'm
to the group
comfortable
here.
with it. I like it.
Yeah, there's the mission, and then here's the
And then
vision.
this is the vision statement. Again, the mission statement is more, this is why we're here and what we're tasked to do. A vision brings in a little bit more of the emotion
Got another
and
it's
the
there.
kind of, these are the things we want
First
to
line.
make sure we're continuing to do in the future. And this would certainly be helpful to the comp plan group because it would express to them some of the things we feel are important.
And the first line.
I'll make a note to get all the its.
So we don't need, if we're happy, and these can always be working documents that we change if we're satisfied with them. We don't need a resolution or an ordinance, just a simple vote to say let's implement them and share them probably on the website and other places and use them as a guide for us and other committees and commissions that we have tasked to do work. And if there are comments from anyone out in the group, we'd welcome those as well.
I think someone wanted to point out there was an it's in the fourth line too.
Why don't you make it on the condition that all the its are changed to out?
Are we voting on this? Did you say we needed to?
Well,
or not?
Well, because I
that's-
was gonna say the same thing down in the vision. I'm just looking down there.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
Oh, that's where.
I already got two of them.
Okay, there's two in
That's,
there.
that's the third one right there.
Well, I advocate that we adopt the mission and vision statements as written.
Minus all the it's.
I think they've been addressed.
You got 'em all.
As corrected.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second that we implement the mission and vision statement. Appreciate the time various people have put in, and Todd too, in kind of finessing the words for probably the last year to try to get to where this is today. If there are no further comments, no comments from anyone out there, we shall go ahead and vote.
Aye.
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 We have now, by affirmative vote of 5, adopted the mission and vision statements. Thank you. We move on to the municipal campus. And you have construction meeting minutes from the 27th and 28th meeting. Are there any questions or comments on those? I don't think there's anything that stands out in them, Todd.
Yeah, the only thing I'll just, we're probably good at place now is any, the maintenance portion of the building. The garage doors went in on today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How much
and,
for the open air concept?
So we had a construction meeting. We have that every 2 weeks. We had one yesterday and they're targeting to get everything wrapped up in the salt shed as far as the electrical work, which they actually were working on today. So that we can get salt back in the salt storage building. And they anticipate that they will have everything pretty well wrapped up in the maintenance portion of the building sometime around Thanksgiving. So from that point on, we will not move the maintenance department in, but that building will be available and we'll have heat if we're anticipating a snowstorm, so that we can at least keep the vehicles in there so they're ready to roll if that time comes. They'll continue to use the the long bay adjacent to the admin building. And the anticipated substantial completion date for the admin building is January 12th.
Took notice, it looks like the roof's just about done
Yes,
too.
yep, yeah.
Cause I
Yeah,
see
they,
they were working on this, the edge towards the trail.
Yeah, I was down this afternoon, they probably only, I'm gonna say, probably 90% of it was on.
And the
If
gate,
they didn't finish up today, they definitely will tomorrow.
the gate was locked when I came here today, so it wasn't left open. Okay, questions on the status or anything with building before we move to the change orders? We'll move to change orders and we'll let
All right,
Todd kind of walk us through each one of those.
all right, change order number 22. This is ECI, the general contractor. You recall last month, we approved a change order, which actually gave us a $23,000 credit because we decided not to put chain link fence along the entire length of the back of the property that abuts 83. But since then, we had to add an additional 40 feet on the side to have it tie into the bank. So 20 feet on each side. So this change order is to approve $2,811, which I guess in a sense is we're of that 23,000 we got back last week, we're going to give them back 2,811 for that additional footage. So I would recommend approval of that.
Yeah, let's do these one at a time.
I'll make a motion to approve that change order, number 12,
22.
I mean 22.
Second.
Yeah, I'm down on one things.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the change order for ECI construction for $2,811 so they can appropriately extend the fence. No further questions. We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved change order number 22 for ECI. Okay, we have a couple for low bar.
Yeah, the actually low bar 1 and 2 are somewhat tied together. This is for, I don't know if you recall, the large compressor for the maintenance building was originally it was designed and bid for it to be placed in the mechanical room, which is right adjacent to the offices outside of the maintenance part of the building. And then, you know, through conversation and giving some thought to it, we requested that it be relocated out into the maintenance building. So it got moved to the far, this would be the northeast corner of the building. So both of these change orders, they kind of are one in hand in hand. The one is to actually relocate that because they had to run new wiring, conduit. They had to place a contactor to allow, and this was at the request of Mike McLean, maintenance supervisor, for us to have a master shut off switch where we exit the building at the end of each day. So change order number 1 is in the amount of $1,823.27. And the change order for number 2, which is mainly to relocate and for the new wiring. And I guess it's requires some heavy duty wiring because it's number 2 gauge, 555 feet. So they had to run multiple wires. So that total is $7,316.04. So I would recommend that the board approve both of these.
Is the, go ahead, I'll let you see if there's a second first.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. I'd have one question. Is the bulk of it for the relocation rather than for a remote switch?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
Because the
Probably looking
relocation
here
was pretty much needed to be done.
Well, I
The
guess-
switch is afloat.
about 80% of that cost is for the relocation.
Well, I guess the wiring is already done for the old location, right? from what I gathered.
Yeah, it's already been moved.
But I mean, it was already wired for the original location.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
that's,
And the other problem is if you saw the size of the air compressor, if there was a problem with it, there was no way we were getting it
well, I
out of
agree.
the mechanical room. So now where it is in the maintenance building, it's
Where it
open
should have
and
been to start
freestanding.
with.
Yeah, and you're correct. That's where it should have been to begin with.
Can be a whole lot quieter and.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved low bar electricals change orders number 1 and 2. And we have one left with North Bay
Yeah,
Mechanical.
next one is North Bay Mechanical. They're requesting additional payment of $3,003 due to what they're saying is a price increase for the which was for the
Heaters, isn't it?
for the heater units. And they're blaming the delay on Columbia Gas, which isn't the township's issue. That's an issue with Columbia Gas. Secondly, if you recall, we had, I believe, 2. And I think one came to the board, the other one never made it to the board. Price increase requests from ECI, the general contractor, and we denied those requests because this was put out for public bid. There's no provision in there for price escalation. And it's one of those things, you know, if you give, there's 1 general and 3 primes. And I believe you open up a Pandora's box if you grant a for a price increase, and there's probably some other ones out there that haven't been even presented. So my recommendation is that you continue the same precedents that you already set and deny this request.
I'd make a motion to deny the change order request number 1 to North Bay Mechanical for the amount of $3,003 due to a price increase based on Columbia Gas.
Yeah, they were waiting for Columbia Gas to come out. They put in a new line and they had to wait to get the verified pressures. So yeah.
That's my motion, Jim.
Right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to deny change order request to North Bay Mechanical for $3,003. Any further questions? Shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have so denied change order 1 for North Bay. We have 4 applications for payment. I think we can handle these in one motion, assuming, we had a question. on one.
We do. If you take notice, the first one, which is ECI, application number 12, $345,676.92. In your packet, it's stamped draft. And I told them I would put it on the agenda, but the board would not act on it until we had a copy that was signed by the contractor and signed off by Murphy and Dittenhafer.
Can we
we
future date
did-
that?
Well, we did get a response from them, and as a result of that, ECI, they only withheld 5% for the retainage, and they're required to hold 10%. So that amount on your agenda should be changed to $152,872.31 instead of the 345.
And that is,
And that signed off by the contractor and the architect. So we have
but that's to make up the difference that they owed for the,
well, what they had to put into retainage. Because they were only withholding 5%. Yeah, they were short 5%.
okay.
Yeah. So if the board likes, you can make one motion. That would be for all 4 of those change orders. And noting that change order number, application for payment. Number 12 for ECI would be in the amount of $152,872.31.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Right, we have a motion and a second to approve all applications for payment, 4 of them as presented, with the change in the value for ECI construction to $152,872. And I guess there were some cents in there. Questions? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, so the applications for payment are approved as amended for ECI. And then D, we have furniture, fixtures, and equipment purchase contract to look at. And Todd, I'll let you.
Yeah, for the new building, there's some additional furniture and fixtures that we don't even have in this building. In fact, there's quite a bit. That said, we do have a proposal from Tanner Furniture, which is up in Harrisburg. The prices and the quote that you see is based on a state contract. So being a state contract, we do not need to go out for sealed bid. If you look on page 2 of 8, we reduced the stacking chairs for the boardroom from 70 down to 40. And we're going to take a good many of these along down and put them in the storage room. So if we have an event that requires greater than 40 seats, I know we've had up to 65 or 70 in here already. We'll have these, it's for lack of a better term, overflow seating. So that would reduce that price down to $7,341.20. And then the task chairs, that would be reduced to 11 chairs instead of 13. And that was for in the conference room. So the grand total, and again, this is, I can just run through this here quickly, just so those that are in attendance here, you know, the benches in the lobby, you know, the meeting room from the visitor chairs to the board chairs, the lectern, conference room, you know, it's a table with the data ports in it, chairs. My office, the furniture for the office staff, as well as Mike's office. And we have, you know, the workstations, file storage. What we have out here is 4 high. We'll sell these eventually. We'll put them in storage till we get everything scanned. All the others is 3 high. And the reason for that is, if you recall and remember from being in there, the interior work area has the lower walls. It's not walled up to the ceiling. And with that said, the grand total with those changes is $43,117.09. Just as a refresher, when we first started out looking at this, we were somewhere around, I believe it was 68,000.
68.
Yeah. So we did some whittling down and so forth. The other thing is, if you recall, we got $752,000 through the American Rescue Plan Act, those funds. And we will be paying, this would be paid out of those funds. Short column ARPA. So
The only comment I'd make is, and again, we can, I think, move forward with the motion if the board so chooses, but
the
I
setup.
would like us to look at the delivery and setup, because we reduced. And it might not be much, but maybe we get a little bit off of the delivery and setup, since they're not quite as much.
Right.
to
And
handle.
I agree. I wanted to get a decision from the board so
Right.
I can ask them to revise and give
Right,
us a firm.
right.
Yeah.
So it could be a motion just subject.
Not
try
to
know-
exceed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not to exceed. That would be a way to put it.
I'm gonna let the chairman make that motion because I got lost halfway through.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the purchase of the FF&E, which is fixtures, furniture, and equipment, I guess, for those that might not know those initials, And then we do that with a not, as according to the list we have in front of us, revised for quantity and with a not to exceed of $43,117.09. The provision will try to negotiate the delivery for and installation charges.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Are there questions from anybody? We shall vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
5 votes to the affirmative, so you can proceed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I guess just an update on the desired sale of this building. I think you're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, the one previous party that was interested, has contacted me again, wants to set up a meeting with myself and Keith Huntings, the zoning officer. We're just having a terrible time getting all three of our schedules to mesh. So we're still working on trying to get a meeting set up. It'll probably, looks like it's going to be early next week. I was contacted by another party earlier this week that also is interested in taking a look at the building. So at this point, we have two interested parties that are looking.
Now, is this earlier party the one that was initially and then got?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the process continues.
Yes,
Anybody want to buy a building?
you need a project, Phil.
Yeah, you don't have,
This one.
come on, Phil, you don't have enough
About the
property.
gas thing out back. And take down the resale value.
You got $1 income a year from the gas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Almost worth it.
But we say that because there is a lease on the back part of the property for used by, I guess it's Shipley to store and move oil and I guess oil and gas.
Propane, gas.
So they still have a very favorable lease, I guess, that was done many, many years ago for $1 a year. And I guess they can go as long as 9 more years for that if they choose.
Up to 9
Up
years,
to
but then
9.
that's the max.
Right. Okay. All right, we moved to new business. Obviously, big at this time of the year is the budget. As we noted earlier, we had a budget meeting a week, I guess that was almost a week ago, a budget workshop last Thursday. And
Yeah, it was a week ago today.
Right.
Yeah.
that's right, and it was Wednesday, you're right. It was open to the public. We did not have any public with us, but we did a pretty extensive review of budget that was well prepared and well presented by Todd. Give him a lot of credit. It enabled us to get through it in just a couple of hours with a lot of detail and a good presentation of what each budget item was about. So with that, we have a budget that we are ready basically to advertise for inspection, and then that would let us adopt it in December. Inspection would be by the public. They would then be advertised for them to view it.
Yeah, we make it available here in the office and we'll also put it on our website.
Right.
Do you need a motion?
Need a motion that to approve advertising the budget for public inspection.
Okay, I make such a motion.
Second.
Right, we have a motion and a second to advertise the 2023 budget for public inspection. Are there questions? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes in favor, so we will
And if I could just
Advertise.
note that is without any tax increases. There is one fee that will increase, but it only affects, I believe, 38 properties that have street lights in Southern Farms. Those fees will increase due to the rising costs of electric bills, but other than that, there's no other tax increases.
thank you. That's a very important thing to note. And it's not too thick when you don't have all the details. So it's not a tremendous document to look at and review for those who might choose to do so. And we would encourage that. We have fire protection tax distribution that Todd has put that proposal together for us.
Yeah, just need authorization from the board to release the fire tax funds that were collected. I did give you a breakdown. You know, what the balance was at the beginning, well, since the last distribution, you know, the amount that was collected and how it's allocated. which is based on this formula that we adopted a couple of years ago, which is based on area that's protected, as well as value of the property and number of calls. Interest that we earn, what we pay out for workers' comp. Bottom line is, we would distribute $273,722.85 to the 3 volunteer fire companies that serve us. Glen Rock would receive $69,289.42. Rose Fire Company, also known as New Freedom, would receive $88,770.38. And Shrewsbury Fire Company would receive $115,655.36.
So we note that's about 3.6% increase from last year due totally to additional properties coming online in the township.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Good.
So that helps the fire departments a bit more too.
I'll make a motion to approve the distribution.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to approve the distribution to the 3 fire companies as presented on the screen and in front of you. No further questions, we shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The distribution of the fire protection tax is approved. All right, stop bar location. This is a fire department request, I guess, Todd.
Yeah, this is really, at this point, I'm not asking the board to give any consideration to any actions. I need to gather a little more information, but just want to let you know that a couple months ago, I was contacted by New Freedom Fire Department. And as you can see, if you're heading south, there's a left turn lane into Southern Auto Tech. If you're heading north, there's a left turn lane onto Campbell Road. And then there's, of course, a single lane heading east out of Campbell onto Susquehanna Trail. The fire department, particularly if they have their ladder truck out, if they're coming out Campbell and they go to make a left to go north on the trail, they're catching this lane. Fortunately, that lane doesn't have too many people usually waiting there to turn. They're coming out of Campbell and they go to make a right. Their truck is actually over into the left turn lane till you get about to this point.
This is the big ladder truck, right?
Yes,
They're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah. And I was down with them to actually verify what these distances are. We did it on a Friday night and it was raining. But we wanted to do it when there was little traffic.
Yeah.
And then the other problem they encounter is if they're coming south on the trail and they go to turn right onto Campbell Road, it's just not enough room. And of course, if there's no vehicles there, so you're looking basically, I believe northbound would be extending this stop bar back 40 feet. The northbound on the trail 45 and Campbell Road 45. Couple of things I need to look at, and I'm going to gather some information for the board. Is I'm going to get what the cost would be, because they would have to come in because that's that polypropylene, the plastic type that they heat. So they'd have to come in. We'd have to have DE Gemmel or someone come in and actually mill off these stop bars, and then they'd have to be replaced back here at these distances. The other thing is I want to find out what the cost would be for the I don't think there's a cost for the permit, but of course the application to be completed and a plan to be updated, because we would not be able to make these changes without approval from PennDOT.
what's that approval process look like?
Well, it's a matter, we have a plan already that's approved for this intersection.
Okay.
So they would go in and use that existing plan and demonstrate on that plan what proposals are being changed. So I don't think that would be a significant cost. To me, the most significant cost is going to be, would be to relocate these stop bars. The other thing I want to do some research on, and I think this is where I think it may be a little problematic, The radar, we don't have the loops in the road for this intersection any longer. So we have the radar that's up on the light pole to indicate when there's a vehicle stopped at the stop bar. I am not sure how that, there's only one that I saw, and my concern would be that
It's
PennDOT would not approve it. I don't know that it's too far as much as it would probably, I'm guessing it would require additional
laser.
radar detector to pick up these left turn lanes.
So that was fixed already, from before, from a couple months ago? Or-
Well, no, that was this area here. When this business did some repair work here,
Mhm.
this is the only one that did not have a radar detector for vehicles. This had the old traditional loop that's cut in the pavement. This is the one where when they did some repair work to their parking lot, they tore that out. Yeah,
I thought it was.
and
a
that's
whole
where
intersection.
we replaced that then with the radar.
And the radar is for the other directions?
Yes,
Works?
yeah. These three have radar.
Well,
Yeah, before they had radar. So
These
they were-
three did.
Right.
Oh,
This
That-
one
that
did not. So this one does now. If you recall, this gentleman reimbursed us, it was around $1,200, which would have been the cost to replace the damaged loop. And we applied that to the cost of the radar detector.
The only,
So there are some of the key things I need to look at, but I just want to make sure, no pun intended, put it on your radar. That we'll be talking about this a little more in the future to.
just to comment, it's kind of a shame because we already spent about $6,500 of township money on that intersection. And it also would appear to me, and Todd, you and I talked briefly about it, that all the fire departments are given an opportunity to review just about anything we do and comment. New Freedom never comments on any of the subdivisions or anything else we're doing. Shrewsbury does on just about every one of them. So it would just have saved us all a lot of money if they had done that review and commented, hey, our engine's not going to fit there. Can you look at this? It's just a comment. I think until we know what this is going to cost, it's hard to decide what to do. But to me, perhaps the fire company could have been more proactive in looking at this too.
And the other thing I think would be a little problematic is this on Campbell Road. You can put a sign up, you can put a stop bar. I don't see traffic stopping way
They're going to
back
pull up so
here.
they can
I
see.
think
out
they're gonna
the-
pull up here.
That's 'cause
And,
they're gonna be
and
turning
if we're
right
gonna
on the red light.
allow, now you're allowed to turn on a red light, and if you're gonna continue to allow them to turn on a red light, they're gonna have to go way up there, and I don't think PennDOT's going to, I don't think PennDOT will permit it, but.
That when I asked, was somebody on the board, I think about the issue. I mean, they do come into an intersection if it's an emergency with lights and siren. So people should be getting out of their way. Where maybe the problem is when they're returning to the station. Were you telling me about that? Somebody was. When they return to the station, then they don't have lights and siren, and maybe that's a more difficult turn.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we need to see the cost before we can make any kind of further discussion or a decision. So and that's why you're giving it to us, so we can think about it. Questions on that at this time? All right, we have a couple of development right verifications. These are kind of
This
the,
one.
did I miss one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
traffic
Oh, you
signal
did. Thank you.
agreement.
Thank you.
Wolf Road.
Yeah, this is in connection with two farms. PennDOT, part of the permitting process and the update to that traffic signal has to be made by two farms when they go to put in the rural farms. They're requiring revised traffic signal maintenance agreements. Now, that particular signal is owned and operated and maintained by Hopewell Township.
Right.
It's in Shrewsbury Township, and we have an intermunicipal agreement that they are responsible for all of it. Hopewell Township has already signed this agreement, but PennDOT is requiring us to sign it as well because the signal, they don't care about our agreements, and that's fine with them. But because it's in our municipality, they need one from us as well. It's not going to change who's responsible for maintenance. It'll still continue to be Hopewell Signal, their responsibility to maintain. Solicitor Bupp has reviewed these and he sent me an email that he did not see any issue with these. So what I would need, if the board is okay with it, we actually have it in the form, I don't show it as that, but it's actually in the form of a resolution, which is, it's an authorization to allow the township secretary to sign the documents. And we have it in the form of a resolution because that's what PennDOT wants in the form of a resolution. So and you all have a copy of it there, I think is your first page.
So this would be known as a resolution, well, it's an amendment to resolution 2021-14.
No, it should be 22, my apologies. 2022-14.
Okay, so we would be looking at approving resolution 2022-14 then.
Correct.
Which lets the secretary.
Execute the traffic signal maintenance agreement for Wolf Road and 851.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2022-14, which would allow the secretary to sign and move forward with the agreement with PennDOT on that traffic signal. Are there questions? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 Five votes to the affirmative, resolution 2022-14 is thereby approved. Now we have two TDR verification agreements. These are kind of the vanilla agreement, no issues.
Yeah, there's, we made Phil wait to the end. They're always at the end. Sorry, Phil.
We just like to see you sitting there.
Yeah, the first one is for, the Kirshner farm there on Kirshner Road. And the other one's on Hildebrand Road, which is a vacant parcel ground. So they're pretty much formalities. They've been
Well, since
researched.
Bill's there, if he wants to say anything. Right, are there any questions? We can treat both of those with one motion if you so desire.
I do.
I'll second it.
Is that a motion?
Sure. Make a motion to approve both of the development right verification agreements. I believe your second still holds.
Yes, still.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the two TDR verification agreements as listed on the agenda. If there are no questions, we shall vote.
Aye.
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 Five votes to the affirmative. They are approved. There's one piece of correspondence, which is basically an invitation. And I'll have to look at that, but the Rotary Club would like, I guess, me or someone from here to attend their 7 a.m. meetings on Fridays on occasion at New Freedom Restaurant. So I attended one of those some time ago when we were looking at maintenance and all on the intersection. And that's probably the main thing we have in common at this point in time. With that, is there anyone who wants to address the board under closing comments?
We do have one guest that I see joined us into the meeting, Ann Visor. I don't know if she has anything or not.
Does Ann wish to address the board on anything? Is she here?
Looks like she's still muted, so I'm assuming not.
We'll give Ann a second. No one else wishes to address the board? And last chance, do you wish to address the board on anything?
Well, we're waiting to hear from her. This is not part of the official meeting for the minutes. But everyone should wish Wendy a happy birthday. She's working her birthday evening.
Happy
birthday, Wendy.
Thank
Sorry to
you.
embarrass you.
We're not going to sing, so.
I was thinking about starting up a song, but all right.
I think we
Chairman
didn't-
says we're not gonna.
But no, if you'd like to. go
That
ahead.
would be the present for me. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We need,
Really?
yeah.
I'm not gonna sing to you either, but happy birthday. Well, happy birthday to you as well.
39, Phil.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that Ann's unmuting. so
Okay.
She has nothing.
Anything else for the good of the group?
Done.
We're adjourned if all are in favor.
Aye.
All right, now we're adjourned.
All right, good night. Night, Wendy.
Good night.
Night, Wendy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.
Aye.